What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Man, Eric Wilson in for the Sports Arena. Yes, on a Monday night, and football is back. Suffice it to say, we've got a lot to talk about here this evening on the Sports Arena. So much so that I don't even know. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I know exactly where we're going to start because through all the week one football that has happened, the good, the bad, and most definitely some ugly, there has been an event that has taken precedence over watching football this week. And the Jets and 49ers are playing right now, but still the talk with regards to the NFL is what went down yesterday prior to the Miami Dolphins home opener, in the fact that Tyreek Hill, star wide receiver, was detained, pulled out of his car in handcuffs for 20 minutes. Not only himself, but also Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith. Now, Jonnu Smith, to my knowledge, was not put in handcuffs. Probably about, I'm going to say, 30, 40 minutes before we come on air tonight, body cam footage from the police officer has been released. And let me just tell y'all, I have been watching it. And I have questions. Hopefully, between now and when this thing gets resolved, we will get some answers. But let me welcome in, of course, my man, ASU. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry. And I have to give him his props because I was wrong about his Dallas Cowboys. And I'll share my thoughts on that a little bit later on tonight. Mike Carrot-Sanudo's in the building.
Eric, man, I know. I didn't wear a Cowboy shirt to rub it in. I just came to say I love you. And my Devils were 2-0.
Hold on. Let me just say this to you. I'm going to do something that I have never, ever done on this show.
Whoa.
I am going to do an Eric's rant and praise your Dallas Cowboys. That's later on. So get ready for that. Wow. But anyhow, aside from that,
my Devils are 2-0, baby.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations to the Sun Devils, baby. Mm-hmm. Let's get our man, Dr. Jarrell Heslop's in the building with us tonight. Good evening, sir. How are you? Thank you for joining us tonight for this conversation.
My guys, man, it feels good to be back with you guys. Mike, what's going on? Can you guys hear me clear?
Yeah, you good, brother. You good.
It's always great to be with you, man.
It's good to see you guys. How y'all been?
The saver in the bullpen, the man that stays up late at night. If I ask him every now and then, he's like, man, you're a pain in the ass, Mike. How'd you not know you were going to do this? I said, look, man, I'm just doing the best I can. I'm not as cool as Eric, but I try.
All right. So, fellas, let's get into this because, like I said, probably about 9:25, 9:30, I got an alert that the body cam footage was released. And, fellas, I've been watching this, okay? And so here's what I will say. Because up until this point, what we knew and what we were told was that he was detained, he was in handcuffs. We saw a video of him being on the ground, but I didn't hear anything from Tyreek. I didn't hear anything from the officer. Calais Campbell was all over, the media today, speaking on First Take, speaking on the facility on FS1, talking about what happened. I even tried to reach out to the agents or the representatives for Tyreek and Calais and Jonnu, just trying to get some kind of statement from them, not only about the welfare of the gentleman, but just a little more clarification around what was going on. So in watching this footage, it's 27 minutes and 3 seconds. Here is what I can share based on what I have seen. This is my observation and my observation only, not Jarrell's, not Mike's. This is mine, okay? What I saw and what I've been watching is an African-American male, a black man who plays in the NFL, who is a prominent figurehead in the NFL. He was pulled over for speeding. He applied the necessary common sense knowledge to do what we as black men and as people in general, but I'm specifically going to say black men for this conversation, are taught to do. However, I will say that there is a point in this where I feel Tyreek went a little too far with his mouth. And I feel that he could have scaled back a little bit. However, the man was in pain, as he did tell the police officer. He had just had surgery on his knee. He was in an uncomfortable situation sitting on the pavement in handcuffs. It was affecting his shoulder. It was affecting his body. And still, and I haven't seen the whole entire thing. Like I said, I'm only about halfway through it. But there is more that I want to go through. But I want to hear from you guys just about not only your initial thoughts when everything dropped, but just how you're feeling about the situation. And Jarrell, since you're our guest, I'm going to go to you first. I know it's a little bit of a lag. There you are. Yep, you're good, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, it's on me? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Man, I think you described the situation perfectly as far as what you saw from the body cam from the officers. I noticed the same thing, Eric and Mike. Once again, just, these are my opinions, and we haven't seen the whole thing, but I saw a great deal just to make a great observation. Tyreek, first of all, it was in his nice car. We're in Miami. Tyreek is a fixture of the community. You know who Tyreek Hill is. Even when the officer asks for his ID, you definitely know who Tyreek Hill in ratio. One of those cops knew who Tyreek Hill is. But like you said, what I observed and what I noticed was Tyreek is a young man with money. He did show a lot of arrogance, being, just his personality, I guess. But it was a lot of arrogance. That's one thing I would not do when being in that situation with any cop is, yes, sir, no, sir. I'm trying to get up out of there safely as possible. If it's just a speeding ticket, stop and move. That's what they said, a rolling stop initially. I'm trying to get up out of there as soon as possible, man. I don't want no other smoke that it has to be. But he was kind of arrogant. But I also observed and noticed that the cop already had a pre-notion, or it seemed like some kind of pretense that he was very, very hostile, very, very nasty to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek wasn't, over belligerent as far as with the mouth coming off. That officer was very, very nasty. Pulled him out, dragged him out, excessive force knocking on his window, excessive force dragging him out of his car, slamming him on the ground, excessive force when talking to his teammate. And it's going to bring up a lot of questions to that police force in Dade County. And I like what Tyreek Hill did the day of the game, showing and shedding light to that situation. And one thing he said, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, who's a fixture of the community? We see this all the time. We've been reporting on this, Eric and Mike, all the time in different states, different cities. This happened. This is a norm. But now, as him having this platform to who he is, he's able to bring this out on another light. And I'm glad he did. Dade County has a lot of explaining to do. And to demote him to administrative duty, I don't think this is enough. If I was Tyreek Hill, being an athlete, a professional athlete, I'm definitely going to have some more to say as far as my mental stability. You messed me up the day of the game. You messed up my money the day of the game. I averaged this. You put me and my teammates in a different situation. And I asked a friend of mine who's a prominent attorney, 2-6 injury law. I hope he joins in just to comment on the chat as far as legal obligations as an athlete, what he is liable to do, or how that did mess up his, money as far as playing wise. But I think Dade County has a lot to answer for in this excessive force. It was definitely a lot of shown racism in my eyes.
And Mike, here's what I will say. You know, and Jarrell, you kind of fall in with us as far as from an age standpoint. You might be a little bit younger than us, but you know, we have all had life experience. Okay. Mike and I grew up in the East Coast from the Philly, Jersey area. Okay. So not to say that we're not better than others with regard to how we were brought up or what we know versus what we don't know. But I'll say this, we got plenty of life experience coming from our parents and our grandparents about how to behave, how to act. And when you are in certain situations, these are the rules and guidelines that your ass better follow. Okay. So I say all that to say, Mike, when you heard the situation, and I don't know, have you seen any of the body cam footage, Mike?
Oh yeah, I'm like you. I'm about 11 minutes in.
Okay. All right. So we about the same
I'm
spot.
about
Okay.
11 minutes in, and because I saw, to your point, I saw Calais Campbell on First Take today, and I woke up to it. I was like, what the heck? And because I heard obviously the post game after, but I want to address Calais Campbell first, because he did everything right. And the fact that he ended up in handcuffs, first of all, I mean, I get the officer you see, and again, not that he was on a football field, but and like I told you, E, when I met Calais Campbell and shook his hand, I literally, you talk about being a kid, I felt like I was in third grade, and I'm like, I'm in college, and I'm like, this is I'm like, good God, man, like it's insane. But he's like, hands up, how far do I have to be back? Tell me how far you let me go back. I'm not leaving my friend. And you see that that's the part of the video where I'm basically, so it's about 10, 11 minutes and whatever. And when he was talking about it, I'm like, okay, what did he do wrong? So to me, that's even more annoying. He ended up in handcuffs for a little bit. When I first heard it yesterday, I thought I kind of had maybe the same thought as you, like, oh, great, cop trying to make a name for himself, you know. And Tyreek had the issue with in Kansas City with the kids, so people were like, oh, well, you know. And you see some people early that know nothing. You're like, well, he's had run-ins with the law. He probably popped off. Okay, I'm like, my thought was, okay, maybe he got a little annoyed because if it's a speeding ticket, like what Jarrell said, my initial thought was, you know, I would be, yes, I'm with you, Eric. Yes, sir. No, sir. I might be like, hey, can I please? I mean, I've been late to the airport, to stuff like that. And I'm like, sir, can I please have my ticket fast? And I go, I'm not being like a wise ass or sarcastic, but I'm like, and yes, it's my fault for speeding. And the cop was actually nice, said, slow down. You're not that far from the airport. The flight will be there. And he let me go. But I'm like, can I please have my ticket fast? I'm like, I know I have no warrants, but can I please have my ticket fast? He went and looked at my stuff. He's like, all right, slow down. Get to the airport. You'll be fine. But then when I see the video, look, Eric, I know, and I've given you this answer before. It's not like it's a Mike answer because it's a me answer because it's social. Like, both were wrong because like what Jarrell said. Like, and I agree with Tyreek Hill. He didn't curse. He wasn't that, but look, all he had to do is crack his window a little, keep his window cracked a little bit. Because you know when an officer walks up and you see a dark-ass window, again, he's speeding, he saw him, he said to pull over, and then he rolled his window up. But when Tyreek first said, don't knock on my, kept saying, don't knock on my window, he's like, well, I got it, and he's talking over him. Again, doesn't make the officer righty. This is where I'm going with they're both wrong, because he kept saying it. And then he rolled his window back up. And the worst part about the cam, because he's like, why don't you have your seatbelt on? He puts you see him putting the seatbelt on in the reflection. So, but even if he still cracked it, so all he had to do is keep it cracked. He's like, all right, I'm keeping it cracked. And he's like, you know what? Get out of the car. So I think Tyreek was wrong in that, but he didn't say, like, to your and Jarrell's point, he didn't say anything vulgar. He wasn't belligerent to him. I mean, yeah, when you say do what you got to do, I guess that's kind of annoying to the cop. But you know what? That's a minor thing. To drag him out, and he's like, hey, I had surgery on my knee. They cuffed him. At least he's in cuffs. Let him stand up like he was. I mean, and I fast forwarded, Eric. I saw some of the end of the video when they uncuffed him. So full disclosure, but because I'm like, and when did he get uncuffed? So I fast forward, and then he's standing up. One guy's talking to him. Another police officer's talking to him. But yeah, I mean, I thought my initial thought was, I'm like, great, an officer trying to make a name for himself. Yeah, obviously he's driving a McLaren like Calais Campbell said, he was going fast. Speeding is speeding. Give him his ticket. Let him move on. Like, yes, I'm with Jarrell. Tyreek should have just left the window crack, because that's what Eric, and like you said, I mean, as I got older, I never rolled the window all the way down. I rolled it down enough so they could see my face, but I didn't roll the window the whole way down. No, I have nothing to hide in my car. But that's how I was always taught. Didn't matter. Like, hey, you might be in the wrong, but you can roll it down just a little bit. They can see your face, and that's it. But that's what annoys me about what the cop did. Yeah, Tyreek had a teeny bit. I think you said it nicer. I mean, perfectly, I should say, like a teeny bit of an attitude, but he wasn't like belligerent or vulgar or anything. So to me, the cop just got annoyed that he kept saying, "Don't knock on my window like that." And the cop's like, "Okay, he's not listening to me. I'm going to show this guy," because one of the Eric, I heard, and I didn't hear it. I listened to and I don't know if it's past the part that I'm at where Calais is, but one of the cops, I saw, I'm not going to say notes on it, but one of the cops said, "Oh yeah, that's Tyreek." So somebody.
Oh yeah. Yes. So
I didn't
the
hear
one
that
cop,
part yet.
I did.
Oh,
you're not that
so
far. One cop, no, because you're still a little behind me.
Oh,
so
okay.
One cop walks over to I'm gonna say the arresting officer, if in fact that is him, and he actually does say to the officer, one officer to another, "Do you know who that is?" And he said no. He said to him, "That's Tyreek Hill." So that goes to show, okay, you said on camera you had no clue who this was. I will say, I don't find that very hard. I don't find that. I'll say it's not impossible, just a little bit improbable to me that most law enforcement doesn't know an athlete a la Tyreek Hill. That's what I'll say. Okay. Yeah. It's like Dwayne Wade down there, or, somebody from the Florida Marlins who is a major baseball player. These figureheads are in the community, to my understanding and to my knowledge. Local law enforcement is going to be around them. So could this be the 1 in 100? Yes, very well could be. I just am hard pressed to really believe that. But again, my opinion on that one. With regard to Calais, and I'm glad you said what you said, Mike. I completely agree with you. Calais Campbell made it very clear he wasn't going anywhere. Right? For him to be put into handcuffs, and let's take everything in its true. Let's separate athlete from the picture just for a moment here. Mike, you said it best. Calais Campbell being the size that he is, the police officer being the size that he is, okay? You might feel some kind of way if a taller, appears to be bigger, stockier man is coming up on you. I don't care if you got mace, a gun, or whatever. If this man just appears from a physical standpoint to be bigger than you, you might feel some kind of way. You might have the hairs on the back of your neck stand up a little bit. Like, what is this? What is this man? What could he do to me?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I agree with how the officer addressed it, but I do feel that he was a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
Because Calais was backing up.
How far back do you want me? That's all he said. How far back? I'm not leaving my friend. How far back? He never raises inflection in his voice.
Yeah.
How far back do you want me?
Now I got a question for you guys, both of you. I'm glad you said that, Eric and Mike. I definitely agree with you. But my problem is psychology 101. I've been arrested and had trouble with cops, and I'm down here on the East Coast and the South. And there's different personalities in the law enforcement. You got cops that hang on the shield, which seems like this guy did. He was imposing his power because of his shield, and he knew it. And there's cops that will talk to you calmly with humility, and let's handle this out. Hey, guy, hey man, you were speeding. I need you to slow it down. Let me see your license registration. I'm gonna go check you out, and then we're gonna handle this and whatever. Whoop de whoop. He didn't approach a situation like that. and he didn't approach a situation like that is because he saw first of all the type of car that he was in. That was one factor that I noticed.
Yeah.
The arrogance, the little arrogance that Tyreek did come off with, it really seems like it triggered him. And like I said earlier, Eric, that ratio of the cops, I'm kind of like Dave Chappelle. I've never seen Michael Jackson, but I can tell you exactly how he's kind of dressed. I've never been to Miami, but I can tell you how downtown kind of looks like. I guarantee you there's a lot of posters of Tyreek Hill around there. So that ratio out of cops, of those cops that were arrested him, one, like you said, somebody's going to know who Tyreek Hill is. When they approach the other player, like you said, he came total 100% humility. Hey, man, look, we're just here to help out. What do you want me to do? We're not here. And he kept asking for his ID. No, you're in my hands now. I need to see your ID. It was total power control. And you can see that we're on the phone with their agent trying to tell them, you can tell. And my big thing is, and where I'm going to, when you're frustrated and you're about to get in a situation with the cops, that can kind of trigger Tyreek as well. I mean, I've been in that situation. Frustrated, knowing something's about to go down. The day's not going to go like you planned. Oh, my God, here I go, man. Man, go ahead and do what you got to do. So I can understand the kind of frustration, but it really feels like a power struggle, the way he approached it. Even when, like, his teammates came in, they came trying to calm the situation down, and there was no kind of, taming that attitude in that arresting officer. So that part I don't agree on. Right. And I really feel like, the other cops, that, hey, man, this Tyreek Hill, brother, we're going to have a little situation, man. So, it's just, the approach of it. And it just shows and highlights these type of cops that lean on the shield and enforce their power to certain type of individuals. And that's what needs to be addressed and highlighted all across the board in any state, any city.
Yeah, because Calais Campbell said it too, Jarrell, and like he was saying, on First Take, when I like I said, I saw the whole interview. He's saying, it's in every walk of life, you can't blame. And he basically was saying, I don't know the arresting officer, but you got to see a situation that somebody's in. What he's basically saying, if you're listening to him, but he's like, yeah, but one bad apple isn't the whole thing. He goes, I've dealt with, across everything, but he goes, with law enforcement, when he was talking about that, like with really good ones that do their job. And I mean, Eric, to even piggyback, off your point, so my grandpa used to say to me all the time, he's like, when you get pulled over, if you get pulled over for speeding, which I, as you know, Eric used to love to speed a lot. But
you never do it when I'm with you though, Mike. You always drive.
This last time, hey, exiting on 7th Street when I was still in the carpool lane, ripping across those 3 lanes under the little underpass there.
There's that one time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Damn, you were trying not to incriminate me. I messed that up. Damn, Eric. No, but Mike,
don't mess up the bit, dog. Come on.
I know. Man, that's right. Eric's right. I drive like a slow, I'm on the beach. I'm cool. It's great. That being said, it's one of those things where, like, when Calais Campbell says that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? There are bad apples and everything. But to your point, Eric, too, in certain ways, like my grandpa was like, you're going to get another ticket for shooting your mouth off, if not worse. Now, Jarrell, I'll keep this really short. My first ever speeding ticket, I was 16, and I got it on the Salt River Reservation on Native American land. It was crap that I was pulled over. There was a BMW that was going faster than me, but I got pulled over because I wasn't driving a BMW. And towards the end, as I was getting lectured from the officer, and I bit my tongue and I was young. But Jarrell, then at the end, I said, I wasn't going 35. It was the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit anyway in that area. But I said, well, okay, so if I was going 35, how fast was that BMW in front of me going? Because they were in front of me. And he goes, are you trying to defy my authority? Man, guy, and Eric knows this story, Jarrell. My mouth just, for the first time in my life, my mouth went, nope. He wrote me my ticket. And one of the guys that, actually, because I was going to pick my mom up, one of the guys is like, from where she worked at, he's like, you're lucky. If he wanted to take you in, it's a sovereign nation. You're not getting a call within an hour. You could have sat there for 3 days and they wouldn't have known where you're at. I go, well, the car would have been in the parking lot, so that would have been funny. But no, I mean, and it's not funny, but like, and I'm with you because like and like I said, Eric, I thought the officer was trying to make a name. I mean, Calais Campbell did, everything right, and he's yelling at him to get back. It's just annoying because and to Jarrell, that's what I want to say too, to your point, is with Tyreek, it's like, okay, the guy knocked on the window, but he's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be late. And he already had his stuff out. He had his ID. And because it took me till the third time because I rewound it. I'm like, wait, did he just hand him something? And he looked down and I'm like, oh, that's his license. And he's got it. He's handing him the stuff like, do what you got to do. Give me my ticket. And then he puts his window back up because he was talking to he called Drew Rosenhaus. So he's like, Drew, I'm getting it right. When I heard that, I was like, okay, probably a good idea. And then the Dolphins security gets there. Calais Campbell's like, and when he said today, I wasn't leaving until it was over. But it's just, it's something, I think you described perfectly, Joe. It's so minuscule because it's just a damn speeding ticket that the officer, and again, he could have a bad day. Not that it's fair to Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek snapping at him and puts his window back up, keeps going, says, do what you got to do, bro. Get me my ticket. But the officer is like, okay, that's it. Get out. It's like, you were just saying you're going to have to get out. He's got the window cracked. Like, I get it. You're annoyed, but you're also trained to take a deep breath. And I just, over a freaking speeding ticket, like that to me, Eric, is how I get frustrated. But when you hear people say, this cop wasn't right. And I think the way he handled Calais Campbell, still yelling at him. I mean, to your and right, you said. I mean, it's true, Eric. I mean, you look at the stature, but he's identifying himself. His audio is kind of low because he's a little further back, but he's like, I'm his friend. Okay, and he's like, how far back do you? And he's backing up the whole time. He's saying he's not walking towards him, saying how far back do you want me? It's just like, okay, I get it. You're annoyed, but and professions that get annoyed where you hope they would take a beat and a breath, and they're obviously supposed to be trained to. I mean, you think of police officers, law enforcement, but someone like a teacher too. Someone's going to annoy you. Okay, hey, they're in cuffs. Stand him up. He's trying to talk. He's talking to you. You sit him down. He's like, all I have to say is just please stand me up. And then, like I said, I fast forwarded to finally see when he was standing up, but I'm like, his attitude does not match how pissed off that officer got, just because that officer was tired of, maybe your point, Joe, maybe people don't listen to him when he pulls them over. Maybe in Miami, again, I'm not saying everybody in Miami's, it's I guess you would say the Wild East, but I'm not going to say they act like the Wild West, Eric, but it's always going to be that balance. But you said it, Eric. I mean, there's a thing. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to, even if I disagree, guess what? Like, there's always a court date, man. I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to document everything that happens. But he just got so annoyed. And it's like, dude, you don't need two other guys, on him to handcuff him. And he's rolling. He's like, right. And then to say you're confused. I don't think he's confused. He might be pissed off. He might be annoyed. Confused. No, he's not confused. He knows what the hell's going on. Yeah. But I just think, and to your point with the poster, both your points, like I'm with you. Like, I always, and Eric, you and I always kid around about this because I remember, and not in a situation like this, but when any famous person, not just athletes, would say, oh, don't you know who I am? And Tyreek didn't say that. But my point is, I always go off of what I heard Jim Rome say years ago, because he would rip people in certain situations that say that. He's like, no, obviously they don't know. Do you know who they are? Because they might not know and might not care. No matter what they're doing, they might not know.
At that moment, right.
In that moment, but
they're doing their job.
It doesn't give this officer, knowing or not, it doesn't give this officer the right to do that. But Tyreek, again, my only thing to Tyreek Hill is, you can see the officer getting annoyed. Just, hey, man, window down. You see his face, window's cracked. Everything's good. But that whole thing, it could be avoided. And yeah, do I think, and I'm with you about it. So wait, Eric, that's what, because I know the police chief, she said she wanted to release it for full transparency right away. I saw that when I saw the beginning of the video. But but the officer whose cam we see it through, who did everything, he's demoted to an administrative thing.
So I guess
on investigation,
yes, upon investigation.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen, with this. I know the story will continue on throughout the week and moving forward. I just wanted to get these two gentlemen in here to have this conversation about it because, and I was, like I said, the fact that, we got the footage and we're still not through it all. I'm sure we might get a little more clarity, but I will say this, I'm glad that after the game was over, to Jarrell's point, when Tyreek did speak to the media, he approached it from a humility standpoint in trying to turn the situation that was negative on him, negative on Calais Campbell, negative on Jonnu Smith, negative on the Miami Dolphins organization as a whole. He tried to make it more about to make a positive spin on it. So, hopefully this whole thing will de-escalate and cooler heads in the end will prevail. Mike, I want to give Jarrell the final word because I want to move forward to the week one in itself. But Jarrell, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm leaving this alone, but you brought up an interesting point, Mike. And I thought it was one of the most telling, like the kids say, is very telling, most telling part of that body cam footage where he said, like you said, I think you're confused to how this worked. I interpreted that totally different. The way I interpreted that was, no, you're confused at how this situation is going to work. I run this thing, like he does this on a regular. And then on top of that, we do have to keep in mind of the environment that we're in. We're in Miami. It's where it's not, there's heavy, drugs, there's heavy gang related violence, cartel violence. So that officer might entail a lot of different traumas and, and different encounters. It's never telling, but he should have definitely approached that differently. And you can't, like you said, approach every person and situation the same. But I did think that statement was very powerful in telling what kind of personality that officer had, at least that day.
Yeah, no, agree. All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a real quick break because when we come back, I do want to talk about week one in the NFL. But first, thank you both for being a part of this conversation. Really appreciate it. And as things progress, the sports arena, the future Dr. Jarrell Heslop, of course, we will keep y'all and get with our thoughts and opinions on everything. We'll be back in just a moment.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Eric's Rant. As I just say, I'm always a loudmouth with an opinion, so whether you like it or not, here it goes. And this one, ladies and gentlemen, is for the record book. So if your name is Megan Price, if your name is Mike Caratanudo, if your name is Ruth the Truth, you might want to sit down for this one because you might just fall out your seat. Here's what I'm going to say. I am going to go into my best rest in peace to my brother Alex Fleming mode and say, Cleveland Browns, you are the most irrelevant team in the entire NFL. You had one job yesterday. One job. You had arguably the best defensive player in the entire NFL, Myles Garrett, on your squad, and you let Dallas come into your house and stomp a mud hole in the dog pound, that game was over by halftime. If a Dallas fan was watching that game, it was in the background because they were too busy popping champagne and cheering about how dominant Dallas was yesterday in Cleveland. Alex Fleming, our brother, may he rest in peace. King, we miss you. I just need you to know that. Has said it for years. Cleveland was irrelevant, and I was trying my hardest to just at least make him understand you can't call a team in the NFL, one of 32, irrelevant. He's like, Eric, I don't care if they got the best running back tandem in the world. I don't care who they got at head coach or the organization or quarterback. It doesn't matter. This team is not going to do it. And I'm like, you wrong. No, ladies and gentlemen, he is right. And even from up above, he is still showing us why this Cleveland Brown team that last year had Joe Flacco come off the couch and get them to a postseason game is better than the product they have on the field right now. The Dallas Cowboys, and I cannot believe I am spitting this out my mouth. It is week 1, but let's call it what it is. The Dallas Cowboys have speed, they have size, they have strength, and the fact that Dak just got paid his exorbitant amount of money, we typically see a quarterback or a player, once they get their bag, take a step back. No, Dak said, okay, all bets are off. You took the handcuffs off me. Let me show you what I'm capable of, making $60 million a year, $70 million a year. Oh, my God. And now I have to contend and listen and deal with the Mike Carrick-News of the world. Mike, I love you. You know I do. Megan, the Prices of the world, and Ruth, the Truths of the world, and all of other, 6 other Dallas Cowboy fans that I love, honor, and respect continually talk to me and actually have some backing when they say, you know, we want to actually make it happen this year. I actually have to put that in my ears and make it register and resonate. So Cleveland, thank you. Thank you after week 1 in the NFL, making my life miserable. Y'all are irrelevant. Stay irrelevant. You're the bottom of the AFC North. I'm done.
I mean, as much as I love what he just did, Jarrell, it's like last year when everybody was picking on his Eagles, Jarrell, and I'm like, dude, they're running the ball. They were 10-0, and then, we know what happened in the Niners game, and it fell off, and, Hurts may have been a teeny bit banged up, but I love defense, and I've told you this a million times. You've been on the show, Jarrell. I love defense, and if you can run the ball, cool, man. I'm going to run it all day. I don't care if quarterback throw for 50 million yards. Run the damn ball. But, look, the one thing I will say, and yes, Alex did say it, rest in peace, and Eric wasn't the only one, because I would poke at Alex, as Eric knows. I'd have to go, the long way around it just to get him to try and say Cleveland was relevant. But that's the thing, Jarrell. Like, okay, Joe Flacco comes off the couch. We know what the defense, like Eric said, Myles Garrett, but you have Denzel Ward. You have a linebacking core that's just, absolutely nasty. They're playing well. Now, look, the one thing I will say is, and I can't say that Eric had an overreaction, because all he says about the Cowboys, well, he should be worried because we're in the same division. But, man, look, Cleveland was down, as we know, Jarrell, their left tackle and their right tackle. Now, they're NFL players, and I heard people say it on the radio today, finally saying what I always say.
No excuse, Mike.
No, I know it's not, because the only thing I've ever said to you is when everybody says, when certain people have given us crap, like John Shear, and talked about, that team's trash. Look, I get it. And Jarrell, I said this to you last time you were on. Yes, when guys are hurt, there's the backup is an NFL player. But yes, it might not be the same talent level, might not be able to do some of the same things a guy can do. But you're down your right and your left tackle. It doesn't matter, though, because I was going to say, Eric, there is no excuses. The guy I wanted to take over, you weren't here 2 weeks ago, Jarrell, because we took Labor Day off. Eric was nice enough to give me Labor Day off so I could watch college football too. The only person I wanted to take over the defense was Mike Zimmer. I'm like, bring Zim back, man. My boy, because Eric knows Darren Woodson. Woody's my boy. He's talking about what Mike Zimmer meant to his career. Even, look, we're talking about guys in trouble.
Yeah.
Pac-Man Jones, who Eric and we talked about in the past, like a lot of times he caused his own damn trouble. But Mike Zimmer really turned Pac-Man Jones around because Darren Woodson will talk about it. I mean, it's tough love. Mike Zimmer is the kind of guy that, like, and again, I'm not saying, and I love Dan Quinn. I'm not saying, oh, good riddance to Dan Quinn, but from a Cowboys standpoint, like that defense is going to be nasty. Mike Zimmer is going to give you the tough love, but Darren Woodson's like, he's the first to, like, he's going to love you like you're his own kid. Like, he would go to Minnesota when he was a head coach, and I mean, he's a career Cowboy, and Mike Zimmer asked him to come out, and he's like, oh, Zim's my guy. Like, I'm going. Like, that defense yesterday with a linebacker that's not a safety. I mean, if we had Eric Kendricks in the playoffs, Jarrell, see, Eric's just going to laugh and shake his head. We beat the Packers. I don't know if we beat the Niners, but we beat the damn Packers if we had a real damn linebacker. But anyway, I'm not bitter. Like Eric said, like I said, Eric, I'm not bitter. But no, like what the defense did, I mean, even one of the local reporters here, and he's been covering the Mike Jurecki, and I give him his props all the time, and he's been covering the Cardinals for years. I mean, radio-wise, but even writing, being a beat writer, a reporter, like he's been around the Cardinals, and I mean, obviously that matchup with the Cowboys, and he said, people are going to have this overreaction for week one. He put up a funny tweet yesterday that the Cowboys defense is nasty and fast. He goes, the Cowboys might have the best pass rush in the league if they stay healthy. And what Mike's now, how he's moving Micah Parsons around, going back to like his comfortable 4-3. But yeah, Eric, your rant was hilarious. I get it. I still am not going to call Cleveland irrelevant yet, but I do agree with some of the whispers, and I think I heard it on I think they mentioned on First Take. Dan Orlovsky talked about, like, I was just getting ready for ASU 2-0 press conference today. Sorry, I'm not happy or anything because an SEC school came here and got smacked around, but I didn't hear anything from SEC fans, Eric. I didn't get any smoke. But when I get killed, I hear the big mouths going all the time. But you're a Penn State grad, you're smarter than them, so you know this anyway. But look, I love the way they played. It is week one to go on the road and do that. Absolutely awesome. But they did say it too. And Dan Orlovsky talking about putting, Jameis Winston's right there. I don't care if he's getting $240 million. I'm with that. If it's another 2 weeks, if you get up to week 4, and again, you still got to get your tackles back. But somebody did say, and I wish I could remember, I heard so many things today, and I agree with this point. I'll leave it on this before Jarrell takes over complimenting the team that you hate the most. But the way that Deshaun Watson gets paid, how much he gets paid, what these quarterbacks get paid, like, you have to be able to overcome it. I mean, I gave, there's a lot of quarterbacks I've ripped on too, and I said, with this and that, they don't have it. But you have to be able to overcome it and somehow make plays. I mean, that's one of those things. If it gets to week 3, the end of week 3 is like this, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jameis Winston in the Browns' backfield. But the Cowboys are 1-0, Jarrell, so you go ahead.
Hey, look. Hey, Eric, I love your rant because I saw Sunday totally different. I thought that rant was headed a different direction. I'm here in North Carolina, and I was horribly disappointed in the lack of growth over here in Charlotte. But I'm damn sure agreeing with you, man. The defense of the Browns, they did all they could, man. And Myles Garrett is who we thought he was. He is a damn great player. He is a star. They look good, man. That O-line is hurt up, and there's definitely got beat up. Watson was knocked left and right just about every other play, man. Every other play, he was on the ground taking a hard hit. They gave him no protection, but he did not look comfortable in the offense at all. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Dan was talking about it this morning, along with Big Man. I forgot his name. Forgot my big man name, but he made a valid point. What are we doing with Watson at the excuse of his contract? Are we putting the team ahead of his contract? We're going to keep playing him, and he doesn't look good ahead of the locker room. And I was like, wow, you're absolutely right, man. He's not, looking good in the offense. He's not making good reads. He can't get the ball down the field. He's getting knocked all over. Like you said, let's put somebody else in. Jameis Winston can't do worse than what Watson is doing right now. But they definitely do need to make some adjustments offensive-wise because it's going to be a long year. They're going to be right with us in Carolina, man.
You know, Ian, before you go, I will say this. I mean, last year, at least Deshaun Watson, and we get it, he was trying to battle through the shoulder, and I get it. And it just got to a point, I guess, when they saw him practice and the reports came out like he's finally going to have surgery. And it was like that middle stretch of the season, like he's going to have surgery. So, look, I understand that part, but you had it. You've been through camp, this and that. And, yeah, you come out, you got – I mean, Kevin Stefanski's on it. You got to get rid of the ball quicker at times, little short stuff. But he missed some passes too. And like you're saying, Jarrell, and look, I'm not as much as I can't stand Alabama, Jarrell. I'm not giving, like I said to E last year, I'm not going to give up on Bryce Young. Do I think? And look, it pains me to say this every time, and Eric knows this. Like CJ Stroud, man, I'm like Ohio State quarterback. He's going to suck. The Texans are going to be back to the drawing board. Yeah, CJ Stroud said, you may have been right in the past, but I'm going to stick the ball up down everybody's throat, shove the ball down everybody's throat. And I think Bryce Young can get there. There's more they need to add, as we well know. But for Deshaun Watson, I like the battle, E, but at the same time, I mean, I'm with you. At some point, like what Jarrell's saying too, everybody's saying at some point, okay, you're this, you're that. And to your point, E, no excuses. Like you there's still 2 or 3 plays in the game you need to make.
Okay. I'm going to throw the flag right here.
Okay.
And I'm going to cut everybody off when I'm going to simply say this with regard to Deshaun Watson. Okay. We are in 2024. Okay. The last time we saw Deshaun Watson do anything of substance was 2019. True. 5 years ago. Okay. Yeah. The narrative has changed. I, like most people, tried to defend this young man. I stuck up for him. I said, no, he can get back to where he once was. I am changing officially today, 9/9/24. Deshaun Watson is a backup quarterback in the NFL. That is the level I put him on. I don't care what he does. I know it's only 1 week. I don't care what he does the rest of the season. But 2019 Deshaun Watson is gone. Take a moment, embrace who he was, but let's get that out of our head. That notion is gone. Mm-hmm. I don't see it. And unless he strings on 15 wins and proves me wrong, and I will gladly apologize, ain't the first time, won't be the last. But that Deshaun Watson is done. I will say that about him. And what I will say to you is, and I'm so glad you brought up CJ Stroud, Mike, the CJ Stroud Antonio Richardson duel, I am so thankful that we have that in the AFC South. Because if yesterday,
Anthony Richardson, holy crap, man!
If that, what we saw yesterday between those two teams is any indication of the future of the NFL, in the words of T.O., get your popcorn ready. Those battles, twice a year are going to be something to watch.
Man, Eric, we've been together so long that I was just about to say to you, hey, E, I guess Indy knew what they were talking about and you didn't say it. And I was going to say to you about Anthony Rich, because, he ran too much last year. He got hurt. We talked about that. But when they drafted after the combine, and I remember you and I sitting here, I think Megan as well, too, saying, I get it. Everybody's short Warriors. I mean, not the NFL combine and stuff like that. It's not as, in depth as your, the awesome national scouting combine. Here you go. But like everything he did, I mean, he was an absolute freak. He went to the combine. He's one of the few quarterbacks saying, okay, he threw to different receivers. They're like, dude, this is ridiculous. And I go, hey, man, hopefully he sits on the bench for a year because they're not going to be that good again. And he got thrust into playing. He got banged up. But what we saw a little bit last year, like, damn, this could be scary. That first touchdown pass, sorry, Drew, I didn't mean to cut him off. I was just so excited. I was about to text you like 50 times, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go crazy texting Eric about Richardson. When I watched that pass, I was like, you have got to. I mean, that was 57 yards in the air and granted, the guy had the DVP, but it still landed in stride in his hands. Like, you drop that, just keep running, go through the locker room, don't come back. They'll play a player down. But I am so stoked for like that matchup. I mean, the Colts, again, like I said, they went from Manning, and it was looking really good with Andrew Luck to all the injuries built up. And then it was kind of, man, now you hit with Anthony Richardson. The last thing I will say, E, real quick, is the one thing about your Cowboys rant, I forgot to add more fuel to your fire. Their center, Connor Beebe, out of Kansas State, he's a rookie. First one that's not out of Wisconsin in the last 12 years. He's a rookie. And, I mean, he struggled a little. There was little things yesterday. But, man, they hit again on an offensive lineman draft pick. Jarrell, that drives him crazy. But anyway, what did you think of Anthony Richardson, Jarrell?
Hey, man, falling down, stumbling, get back up and drop a 70. No, not 60. That was a 70-yard pass, man. That's nothing but a freak of nature at the arm. He has a gun. He has like a baseball arm on him. So that, like you said, that matchup, I was watching the Dallas and Cleveland game, but I was more interested in that matchup because, like you said, Eric, it's going to be interesting for the years to come. But my question was, we are hanging on to the old Deshaun Watson, but is there any kind of even hint of maybe that offense is not right for his style?
I mean, I think
I
when
just
Nick
wanted to
Chubb
ask you too.
Sorry, Drew. I think
because
when Nick
he does
Chubb
show,
back,
graces of.
I was just going to say, I think when Nick Chubb gets back, I mean, of course it adds to it. It's different. We know what Nick Chubb is. You get your two tackles back. But I think to Eric's point, and I know it sounds like a me answer, Eric. I mean, I'm like 89% with you on not 2019 Deshaun Watson. But I mean, even if you go, I'll even rewind back. Even if you go to, after he came back from tearing his ACL, what was that in 2017? He came back in 16, 17, 17, 18, whatever it was. But you before he blew up in 2019, and you saw that, like in 2017, if you can get that Deshaun Watson to where very competent, to your point, I think you're trying to make, Eric, but you can be prolific. But I mean, come on, man, you traded for Jerry Jeudy. Actually looked like the receiver, Denver thought they were drafting. I know they had the quarterback mess. It was a mess there. Jeudy got banged up, this and that. But I mean, Amari Cooper, thank you, Eric. Probably made Eric happy to see him drop that touchdown pass, which would have won me my fantasy game because I lost by less than 1 point. But Amari Cooper dropped the pass, but I'm not bitter. We won't talk about that. But I think if you get 2018 Deshaun Watson, I mean, I think I'm with you. I think it almost might be impossible because, again, some self-inflicted, everything with the massages and the freaking legal troubles that he caused that he had. I shouldn't say cause, that he had and settled on and all that stuff. But, I think they have enough to get there. But, I don't think it's as crazy. This is the me part of the answer, E, of what you're saying. But that they might be, irrelevant unless – because it could be ugly. And, like I said, we see Jameis Winston playing.
Listen, as far as I see it, we are still – as I said before, hung up on this notion that Deshaun Watson is going to revert back to the Deshaun Watson of 2019. And even if we go back to 2018 or whenever, he's not the same.
Right.
And I just don't know what can change this season that is going to make me say I was wrong. I understand Nick Chubb's going to get back, and like you said, yes, at some point your tackles are going to make their return.
Right.
I just think that a changing of the guard needs to happen, and whether that be Jameis Winston or whomever else they've got in that locker room.
Right.
I just know Deshaun and Kevin Stefanski right now, there seems to be some type of obstacle standing in the way of them succeeding.
Right.
So that's what
I want to end on something happy. I got a quick question for you. And
Please.
It pains me to ask you this.
Okay.
This makes you happy.
All right.
How phenomenal did Saquon Barkley make your offense look even more? I mean, look, I'm vomiting. You can't see it, Drew. I won't discuss you with real vomit.
Yes.
But Saquon Barkley, I mean, look, and the receivers they got, I think Jahan Dotson got traded over late, and yeah, he's an NFL receiver. He'll grow into that. You got those two receivers. But, dude, it's still Christian McCaffrey. But, like, Saquon Barkley, every year with the Giants, like 30% of the offense, and somehow they still hung around in games. How happy are you, E?
Hey, Mike, you know it's bad when another Penn State alum is questioning the Giants organization about Saquon Barkley and him going to Philadelphia. Listen, 24 rushes, 109 yards, the touchdowns.
The receiving touchdown, oh, my God, that catch.
Listen,
man,
that's just
he looked good.
Saquon
Man, he looked good.
having the opportunity to flourish. And for all the people who are still speaking ill about Jalen Hurts, I'm gonna give y'all something that you need to understand. That I want to shout out to my man, Harrisburg native, my man, cut on a dime, 25, Shady McCoy. He said this today. Do you know Jalen Hurts' record? Excuse me, against playoff teams. Do you know Jalen Hurts' record? 11-3.
Oh, okay.
11-3. So, for all the talk about what this young man, and that's exactly what it is, a young man playing his game, having to work with different coordinators and coaches, and is still producing because he understands the team dynamic, not the individual statistic.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all just keep talking. That's all I want. That's all. Just keep doing, like I always say, keep chirping, keep doing this. Because he's going to be consistent. I can
tell you who found the fountain of youth, though. I can tell you who found the fountain of youth, fellas. And I'm not even a Dallas fan. Zeke looked really good compared to old Zeke before he went out. He looked like he'd been really working on the off season. He got that little spring back. Zeke looked really good, and I was surprised.
That makes two of us. Eric, I'm going to end it on this. This isn't a shot at you, Jarrell. Shot at everybody else. Yeah. So with how Washington played, they lost. I mean, Baker Mayfield blew up. Our guy, mine and Eric's guy, blew up. He didn't headbutt anybody with helmets on, so his wife's happy about that. But everybody that talks trash to Eric and I, and even though when it was down and 3 teams went to the playoffs a few years ago, the NFC East, I'm just going to say bring it, because our teams are nasty. I can even say it because since the Cowboys are, the Eagles are nasty too. The Redskins, they'll play some D. The Giants, they'll upset a few people just because even when they're allegedly terrible, Eric and I know this for years, there's some games they win and everybody's like, what in the hell? So come to the NFC East. That wasn't directed at Jarrell because he's a good guy, but all you other trash talkers, Eric and I, like he says, we're not hard to find. Come find us.
Never hard to find. Hey, much love to everybody. Jarrell, thank you so much, my brother. Appreciate you stopping in, having the conversation with Mike and I tonight. Mike, my brother, hey, it's another NFL season that we fit to show up and show out as we always do. That's going to do it for the Sports Arena. Everybody stay blessed. We will talk to y'all next week. Peace.